Hi, I'm Steve Martin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Shasta Cloud. And prior to Shasta Cloud, I've spent 25 or 30 years in the networking and communications industry, multiple startups, primarily in the wireless enterprise space, including Ruckus Wireless for a dozen years in various executive roles. Prior to that, at Airspace, which was one of the early enterprise startups that ultimately was acquired by Cisco and spent time within Cisco's wireless group as a result of that. So, I've been knocking around this part of the industry for a lot of years. And what that has allowed me to do is certainly understand, I believe, the long-term macro trends of the industry and where the industry is going at some level. And it's always a bit imperfect, but certainly having that breadth of time. One of the things that I've clearly seen, even within my realm of experience, is a move towards greater and greater effectively commoditization of the industry. And certainly the equipment has gotten much better, and the various performance attributes of it have continued to improve over time. We've all enjoyed that. Our internet works better today than it did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But effectively, the industry and the solutions that are offered by most vendors, frankly, have become commoditized. And I saw this in my own experience at Ruckus, certainly at Cisco, et cetera. So, and then you see as a result of that, and happens, it played out in many industries, with that commoditization, you also see consolidation, and we're all aware of that today. You can see, obviously, the Juniper Mist, HPE, et cetera. A lot of consolidation happening, which is almost an inevitable byproduct of this. The funny part is that as you look at this, the complexity of networks and deploying them and security aspects is actually increasing. So as the commoditization doesn't mean just simplification, there's actually increasing complexity as well. And for instance, things such as the attack surfaces that are available from a security standpoint and the sophistication of security attacks. And and so this is kind of a disjunctive kind of piece where you have increasing commoditization, increasing complexity. And in the meantime, you have fewer and fewer really qualified IT professionals and budgets really to go after this stuff. Now, maybe AI will help. Maybe AI creates more vulnerabilities. But what these trends do is they're driving enterprises more and more to look for outsourced solutions through service providers. They're also looking more and more for full stack solutions. Now, there are certainly many, many exceptions to this, but I think broadly speaking, the enterprises, particularly through the mid-market and even into the Fortune 1000, are increasingly looking for a single, as I put it, kind of a single throat to choke. If you're the CISO of a given company, trying to find a single company that you can outsource to that will basically take this headache off your hands, and they will be responsible for the security of where the various pieces of the systems interact, that's becoming more and more prevalent. And so these are the broad trends we see. And what we at Shasta are really focused on is how do we double down on that? Let's embrace commoditization. Let's bring more choice to enterprises. Let's take what things that perhaps where value has been assigned to what is now commodity. Let's reassign the value chain so that customers are paying and enterprises are paying for the pieces where there is actually value added to them. And then reassembling all of this into highly deployable solutions where the enterprises effectively have a lot more choice than they have in the past. They're not locked into single vendor ecosystems, but they do have full stack solutions with effectively one throat to choke that someone takes responsibility, Shasta in this case, for the complete solution. And so we're doing that in a number of different ways. One of the ways we're doing that, and I saw this at Ruckus and wanted to do this, but it wasn't the right timing, is bring together open networking and open systems. And so building ecosystems of vendors who are able to bring interoperable solutions together and then reassembling those into solutions that enterprises can actually digest. Because enterprises don't have the people or the time or the expertise to pull all these things together. And so you do need companies such as Shasta that can pull all these together, but offer these advantages of having multiple choices from hardware vendors and not being locked into specific technology stacks. And so, long story short, this is really why we built Shasta, is really building a next age systems vendor that is able to take advantage of some of these trends that we see in the industry and really bring the advantages of open systems to the enterprise while still providing what they need in terms of security and full stack solutions.